we talked about you standing on the shoulders of giants. We used Ollie Olsen as an example. How do you feel about the next generation coming up after you? And I'm looking at the guys like Di Henwoods and the guys like Clint and those guys who are coming up and taking over jobs, are now hosts of jobs that are jobs you used to do and used to be involved with. And how do you think that kind of presenter stock is in New Zealand with the next generation coming up now? How do you feel about it?
Well, I have two thoughts on this. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm not ready to hand over the mantle yet. I'm not. There's life in the old Gunn yet. I'm oh yeah. Having said that, I'm also very lucky we don't make television like we used to. So I'm like, okay, I get that. So I've got to be careful because I lived in some glorious times making television, what I thought were. And things were just done a bit differently. I look at when we made Dancing with the Stars for those first 5 years. It was big tally stuff, like live band, live studio audience, huge set. It was, and the BBC came out and they wanted it really, really British. I love the show now. It's a lot smaller, and it just looks a lot, small. Hey, I did it for 5 years and loved it, and just it was time for Jace to stop doing that. So no hard feelings there. It's interesting, we've got this crossover now because I think Clint does a great job. You've got I'm terrible. Now you've got a few. I was actually thinking Sharon's. I think she's amazing. She is quite the broadcaster, just amazing. But you've got a few shows now where the radio crossover happens. Television, radio. Hey, this is coming from the television guy who did radio. So I struggled on radio because I'm more of a visual storyteller, right? So I struggled there. The only thing I would say is occasionally I see some shows pop up and I'm like, yeah. It is a different skill set altogether, I think. See, every radio show now has gone and put cameras in their studio. Why?
Yeah.
It's radio. It's theatre of the mind. Stop it. So you'll see, I haven't got a piece of paper. Oh, yeah, hang on. So you'll see someone and they'll go, you'll see someone, you'll go online and watch and you'll go, I've got some, I've been thinking about that. Here's the top 3 reasons that I think yada, yada, yada. Number 1, da-da-da-da-da. Number 2, and you see it and you go, what? Is he reading that? I thought he'd just come up with that on the fly. Like, what's the go with it? I don't know why everything needs to be televised. It's taken away the magic of radio. I think it's ruined it. I used to hate, I'd say, why have we got cameras in here? And the only thing I'd also say this, and this cannot not sound like an RC ex-television presenter, it is a different skill. And I think sometimes we just go, well, if we get him to do it or her to do it, it's like, okay, you know what? It's like, that's good because then we get the whole exposure and then we can have that pop up on the television that says the answer. Well, here's a competition on tomorrow's radio show, and it's the same network. And it's like, yeah, I get what you're doing there, but I don't know. It's a different art form. It honestly is. And yeah, and it's not something that's taught anymore. So sometimes I'm like, sometimes I think, and again, this is coming from the guy, how dare him, who made television and went to radio. But I'm not sure that always works with everybody. A lot of them it is working, but it doesn't always.
I think it goes the other way. I think it goes the other way as well, because from working in radio, I was a do nothing talkback host in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And having television people come in and being talkback hosts, or having journalists come in and being talkback hosts.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
Kind of going, it's a different skill set. So I get it. I get it from the other side as well, that it's not the same. Like, just because you're a journalist doesn't mean you're a good talkback host. It's a different skill set. Especially because you're a television person.
You've got a profile, right? So people know you. That doesn't mean you'll be great on radio. So I get and I hear and see that. And I struggled for a long time there as well. I had good people around me, like my beautiful sister from another Mr. Lana Searle. She was amazing. She took me to say, hey, look, you should do this, more of that. Be aware that's a visual thing. And I was like, wow, I just did not know that. So they are two very separate things. I don't know why we're mixing them as much.
Yeah.
Because I don't think everyone on television makes good radio, and I certainly don't think everyone on radio makes good television. So I think sometimes they deserve their own lanes, and we
Yeah.
could potentially stick to a bit more of that. But because of cost cutting and the same
Yeah.
reason we network, we just do them all as one. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know about that. Look, having said that, there are some wonderful comedians coming through. What I love is that, like we're now accepting New Zealand comedy, right? We didn't used to
Yeah.
many years ago.
Definitely.
We just didn't, and now we do, and it's just brilliant. So I love that. And so when I see someone like Di do it, Di him is such a man of the people. Like, when you see him on Family Feud and those shows, he's really good at talking to everyday people. He makes everyone feel important. I just love, he's got a big heart.
Yep.
And do you know what? That's what I love when I see it in presenters, and I hate when I see it lacking. As I go, yep, you said that absolutely right. Yep, just like we practiced. It's just that there's no heart.
Yeah.
And maybe since we practiced it, and now that we're live, maybe it's got a different vibe. Maybe those words don't make as much sense as they did an hour ago in the final dress rehearsal. So Di is someone who I think has great heart. Obviously a fantastic comedian, but that's what I love seeing in people, heart and humor. So when anyone brings that, just gets the Jason Gunn tick of approval. Not that they need it, but that's just me watching. Yeah.